Welcome to the Bible Quiz. We're diving into a high-intensity journey through Old Testament wonders, from Nile plagues and manna rhythms to axe heads that float, shadows that turn back, and kings humbled overnight. Expect sharp details, tight timers, and twists that separate casual readers from careful students. Before we begin, hit like, subscribe, and share. Shout-outs to our faithful commenters, Selvi Pillay, Tiny Huma, Tilabalagang Magola, Mary Kudarajan 1954, Rajan, Bridget Nwali, Evelyn Jackson, Marie McClure, Stell Starr. Drop your name in chat for a chance to be featured next episode. Your comments help shape future quizzes, sharpen our questions, and boost this ministry to reach more people. Lock your answer, track your score, and keep moving. Are you ready? Now, let's get started. Question 1. What was the first Egyptian plague? A. Hail. B. Frogs. C. Blood. D. Gnats. You get 10 seconds. That's C. Blood. The sign strikes Egypt's life source. The Nile turns to blood, fish die, and the river stinks. Magicians imitate but cannot reverse it, and Egypt digs for water. Pharaoh's heart hardens, setting the cadence for escalating judgments that expose false gods and vindicate the Lord's word. Exodus chapter 7, verses 14 to 25. The sequence frames deliverance as divine warfare against oppressive power and idolatry. Question 2. By what means did God drive back the Red Sea for Israel's crossing? A. East wind. B. Rainstorm. C. Tidal wave. D. Earthquake. You get 10 seconds. That's A. East wind. All that night, an east wind pushes the waters back, making dry ground with walls of water on the right and left. Timing, direction, and depth emphasize God's command over creation, not a lucky tide. When Egypt pursues, the same sea becomes judgment. The narrative pairs salvation and justice in one event. Mid-story note, Exodus chapter 14, verses 21 to 29, establishing the Passover God as warrior. Question 3. On which day were Israelites to gather double manna for Sabbath rest? A. Day 7. B. Day 6. C. Day 5. D. Day 3. You get 10 seconds. That's B. Day 6. Provision trains, worship. Gather daily, no hoarding, except Day 6, when a double portion keeps the Sabbath free from toil. Manna appears like coriander seed, white, tasting like wafers with honey and melts in the sun. Disobedience spoils, obedience satisfies. The rhythm catechizes trust. God's rest is received, not achieved. Exodus chapter 16, verse 5, verses 22 to 30. Binding provision, patience, and holiness together. Question 4. Where did Moses strike the rock the first time to bring water? A. Merom. B. Jericho. C. Kadesh. D. Rephidim. You get 10 seconds. That's D. Rephidim. At Rephidim, the Lord stands before Moses on the rock at Horeb. Moses strikes with the staff and water flows. The place is named Massa/Meribah for testing and quarreling. Later at Kadesh, the instruction differs: speak, not strike, highlighting that methods must follow God's present word. Contrast Exodus chapter 17, verses 1-7 with Numbers chapter 20, verses 1-13. Provision comes, but presumption has consequences. Question 5. How were snake-bitten Israelites healed in the wilderness? A. Offer a sacrifice. B. Wash with water. C. Touch the bronze serpent. D. Look at the bronze serpent. You get 10 seconds. That's D. Look at the bronze serpent. After fiery serpents strike, God commands Moses to lift a bronze serpent. Whoever looks lives. The cure is not technique, but trust, gazing at God's appointed sign. The episode later becomes a type for faith in the lifted sun, John chapter 3, verses 14-15. Yet the OT point stands. Obedient looking receives life amid deserved judgment, Numbers chapter 21, verses 4-9, turning punishment into pedagogy. One click keeps you close. Subscribe now and walk with us through every challenge, verse, and victory that's coming next. Question 6. What struck the people at Kibroth Hattaavah while meat was still in their teeth? A. Hail. B. Plague. C. Famine. D. Darkness. You get 10 seconds. That's B. Plague. Craving turns to judgment. Quail arrive in abundance. But while the meat is between their teeth, a severe plague falls. The graves of craving memorialize hearts that despised manna and the giver. Numbers frames desire's disorder as spiritual danger. The miracle of provision cannot bless ingratitude. Numbers chapter 11, verses 31-34. God's gifts require reverent reception or they become occasions of discipline. Question 7. During Joshua's long day, over which valley did the moon stand still? A. Ajalon. B. Jezreel. C. Zeboim. D. Hinnom. You get 10 seconds. That's A. Ajalon. Joshua prays in battle. Sun, stand still over Gibeon. Moon, over the valley of Ajalon. The text stresses unprecedented divine fighting, hailstones, and extended daylight, so Israel completes the route. The marvel serves covenant justice, not spectacle. Note the double focus in Joshua chapter 10, verses 12-14. Israel's victories hinge on prayerful dependence. Heaven and earth align with God's mission. Question 8. What was the order of Gideon's fleece signs? A. Both dry. B. Both wet. C. Dry fleece/wet ground. D. Wet fleece/dry ground, then reverse. You get 10 seconds. That's D. Wet fleece/dry ground, then reverse. Gideon asks for confirmation. First, wet fleece with dry ground. Next day, dry fleece with wet ground. God stoops to strengthen a hesitant deliverer, then pairs his army to 300 to spotlight divine power. The signs are mercy, not a model of perpetual testing. Faith grows from reassurance to obedience. Judges chapter 6, verses 36 to 40, chapter 7, verses 1 to 10, 8, moving from anxiety to action. Question 9. At what city did the Jordan's waters pile up when Israel crossed? A. Zoar, B. Hebron, C. Adam, D. Jericho. You get 10 seconds. That's C. Adam. Joshua, chapter 3, verse 16, pinpoints the miracle's geography. The flood-stage Jordan stood in a heap far upstream at Adam, while Israel passed opposite Jericho on dry ground. The priests stood firm, carrying the ark as the nation hurried across. This precision, city name, flood season, stationary ark, underscores that entry into promise wasn't luck or timing, but God's deliberate command over creation and history. Question 10. At Jericho, what kind of horns did the priests blow? A. Cornets, B. Ram's horns, C. Bronze horns, D. Silver trumpets. You get 10 seconds. That's B. Ram's horns. Not military metal, but shofar, Ram's horns, lead the liturgical siege. 7 priests, 7 days, and on day 7, 7 circuits before the shout. Joshua chapter 6, verses 4 to 5. Worship functions as warfare. The ark centers the procession, and obedience, not battering rams, drops the walls. The pattern highlights covenant symbolism and God's presence doing what human engineering could not, inaugurating conquest through faith-shaped ritual. Question 11. On Carmel, how many jars were poured each time over Elijah's altar? A. 4, B. 3, C. 2, D. 1. You get 10 seconds. That's A. 4, 4 jars poured 3 times, drench bull, wood, stones, and trench, making ignition impossible, until the Lord answers by fire. 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 33 to 38. The excess water removes any suspicion of trickery and frames the showdown against Baal as a contest of living God versus silence. The people fall, confessing, "The Lord, He is God," as judgment then falls on false prophets. Question 12. In Zarephath, which 2 staples did not run out for the widow and Elijah? A. Flour and oil, B. Fish and bread, C. Barley and wine, D. Figs and honey. You get 10 seconds. That's A. Flour and oil. The jar of flour shall not be spent, and the jug of oil shall not be empty. And it wasn't, according to the word of the Lord that he spoke by Elijah. 1 Kings chapter 17, verses 14 to 16. Daily sufficiency, not luxury, trains trust amid famine. Later, the same household witnesses a raising from the dead, but provision comes first, a sustained, quiet miracle that underwrites survival and faith. Question 13. In which river was Naaman told to wash for healing? A. Abana, B. Kishon, C. Jordan, D. Pharpar. You get 10 seconds. That's C. Jordan. Proud Naaman balks at the humble command, 7 dips in the Jordan, delivered by Elisha's messenger, yet obedience cures his leprosy. 2 Kings chapter 5 verses 10 to 14. A captive Israelite girl's witness began the chain. Servant's counsel completes it. The miracle exposes Grace's offense to status, showing that healing flows through God's word, not impressive waters or grand gestures. Cleansed, Naaman confesses Israel's God alone. Question 14. What judgment fell on Gehazi after taking gifts from Naaman? A. Exile, B. Leprosy, C. Blindness, D. Muteness. You get 10 seconds. That's B. Leprosy, coveting the reward. Elisha refused, Gehazi lies and hides the loot. Elisha exposes him, declaring that Naaman's leprosy will cling to him and his descendants. 2 Kings chapter 5 verses 20 to 27. The sign warns against monetizing ministry and mistaking grace for gain. Prophetic authority protects the integrity of God's free gift, turning Gehazi's grasping into a living parable of defilement through greed. Question 15. In which river did the iron axe head float? A. Euphrates, B. Pishon, C. Kishon, D. Jordan. You get 10 seconds. That's D. Jordan. A borrowed axe head flies into water. Elisha cuts wood, casts it in, and the iron floats, so the man retrieves it. 2 Kings chapter 6 verses 1 to 7. The setting, prophets expanding housing, seems mundane, yet God's care meets practical need and debt anxiety. Miracles aren't only for royal courts and battlefields. They also restore lost tools and reputations, showing providence in workaday crises along the Jordan. Question 16. Elisha cured a poisoned stew with what? A. Oil, B. Salt, C. Flour, D. Herbs. You get 10 seconds. That's C. Flour. During famine at Gilgal, wild gourds turned the pot deadly. Elisha throws flour into the stew and there was no harm in the pot. 2 Kings chapter 4 verses 38 to 41. Earlier he had purified Jericho's spring with salt. 2 Kings chapter 2. But here the remedy differs, underscoring that methods vary while power is God's. The sign feeds prophets safely, transforming scarcity and danger into shared sustenance by the word. Question 17. In which city did Dagon fall before the ark, losing head and hands? A. Gath, B. Gaza, C. Ekron, D. Ashdod. You get 10 seconds. That's D, Ashdod. When the Philistines set the ark in Dagon's temple, the idol toppled twice. The second time its head and hands lay on the threshold, only the trunk remained. This humiliates the supposed deity where it lives, declaring the Lord's supremacy inside enemy space. See 1 Samuel chapter 5, verses 1 to 5. The sign is theology in stone. Gods of the nations cannot stand before Israel's Holy One. Question 18. In one night, how many Assyrian soldiers were struck down? A. 185,000. B. 180,000. C. 120,000. D. 70,000. You get 10 seconds. That's A, 185,000. Deliverance arrives without Judah's sword. The angel of the Lord strikes 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. Sennacherib withdraws in defeat. Isaiah frames it as covenant defense, not chance. Narratives in 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 35, and Isaiah chapter 37, verse 36. The miracle answers Hezekiah's prayer, proving that threats, numbers, and boasts collapse when God rises to guard his name and his people. Question 19. What sign confirmed Hezekiah's healing regarding the sun's shadow? A. Stopped in place. B. Reversed 10 steps. C. Doubled in length. D. Advanced 10 steps. You get 10 seconds. That's B, reverse 10 steps. At Hezekiah's request, the Lord makes the shadow go back 10 steps on the stairway of Ahaz, cosmic choreography as pledge of extended life. The king's recovery and the retreating shadow bind promise to perception, 2 Kings chapter 20, verses 8 to 11. It's not spectacle for its own sake, but a sign that the God who governs time can also rewrite a diagnosis. Question 20. Whose hand withered when he stretched it against a man of God at Bethel? A. Ahab. B. Jehoram. C. Jeroboam. D. Rehoboam. You get 10 seconds. That's C. Jeroboam. At the altar of Bethel, Jeroboam orders the prophet seized, and his hand withers instantly. The altar cracks, ash spills, and only plea and prayer restore his arm. Story in 1 Kings chapter 13, verses 1 to 6. The paired signs judge counterfeit worship and restrain royal rage. Power cannot coerce the word of God. The altar's split exposes the kingdom's split from covenant fidelity. Stay with us until the end of the video to see how many Bible quiz questions you got right. Don't forget to note your score and share it with us in the comments section. Let's explore and learn more about the Bible with these fun and interesting questions. Question 21. Before the third captain begged for mercy, how many troops were consumed by fire from heaven? A. 50. B. 70. C. 80. D. 100. You get 10 seconds. That's D. 100. Two captains with their 50s demand Elijah's arrest. Fire falls twice, consuming 100. The third kneels, and the prophet descends safely by the Lord's word. See 2 Kings chapter 1, verses 9 to 15. The point isn't pyrotechnics, but posture. Arrogance invites judgment. Humility finds a path. Heaven's fire vindicates God's messenger and confronts a king seeking answers from Baal-zebub. Question 22. After the furnace, which trace of fire is explicitly said to be absent? A. Smell of fire. B. Scorched hair. C. Burned clothes. D. Singed eyebrows. You get 10 seconds. That's A. Smell of fire. The satraps see Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, not a hair singed, garments unharmed, no smell of fire on them. A fourth figure had walked with them in the blaze. The account, Daniel chapter 3, verses 24 to 27, is careful. Preservation is total, testimony undeniable. Worship reserved for God turns imperial fury into doxology as a pagan king blesses Israel's deliverer. Question 23. Whose child did Elisha restore to life in Shunem? A. Jairus' wife. B. Widow of Nain. C. Widow of Zarephath. D. Shunammite woman. You get 10 seconds. That's D. Shunammite woman. Elisha prays, stretches himself on the child, and the boy sneezes 7 times, rising, after the staff-bearing attempt failed. Sequence in 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 32 to 37. Hospitality had furnished the prophet a room. Now faith meets grief with resurrection power. The sign prefigures the hope Hebrews celebrates, women receiving back their dead, and shows God honoring generous, persevering trust amid heartbreak. Question 24. What did the widow pour until no vessel remained? A. Wine. B. Oil. C. Water. D. Grain. You get 10 seconds. That B. Oil. Elisha tells a debt-crushed widow, borrow many jars, shut the door, pour oil from one small flask. The flow stops only when containers run out. She sells the oil, pays creditors, and lives on the rest. See 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 to 7. Provision comes through obedience and privacy, no stage, no crowd, teaching that God's mercy can settle debts and sustain households through humble faith. Question 25. What did God appoint to attack the plant that shaded Jonah? A. Beetle. B. Locust. C. Worm. D. East wind. You get 10 seconds. That sea worm. After appointing a plant to shade Jonah, God also appoints a worm to strike it, then an east wind to add heat. Narrative in Jonah chapter 4, verses 6 to 8. The sequence is pedagogy. Comfort, loss, and exposure reveal Jonah's misplaced pity. The small miracle interrogates a prophet's heart. God's compassion for a great city outweighs one man's grievance over withered shade. Amazing job! You made it to the end. From seas split to furnaces cooled, remember, these signs reveal the God who acts, provides, judges, and saves. If this blessed you, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell us your score, the question that surprised you most, and which miracle you'll study next. You are the God who works wonders. You have made known your might among the peoples. Psalm chapter 77, verse 14. Thank you for joining us through the Old Testament with the miracles of God the Father. Until next time, stand in awe, stay in the Word, and keep your eyes on the Lord who does wonders. God is always present and protects you.